Unplug, Live Slow is an experiment that I did a couple of months ago about seeing what life would be like if I intentionally spent a little more time on my priorities and let some of that time come from time wasted using technology. So that experiment turned into more of a lifestyle shift, and it's continuously ongoing. I don't know if this Unplug Live Slow, as I'm exploring the topics, I realize has really been with me since childhood, but just now I'm figuring out how to phrase it, what the philosophies are, and how to live it in my own life, especially as technology becomes more and more present in our lives, and also as the pace of life just kind of continues to speed up. Unplug, Live Slow, a reminder that life is every moment, not a destination. And I'm doing this talk to challenge you to look at your schedule and your current relationship with technology. So let's dive in. So what is slow living exactly? Slow living is a movement. It stemmed from the slow food, slow eating movement. And really and everybody defines it a little bit differently, but it boils down to emphasizing slower approaches to aspects of everyday life. And Linda's favorite word, mindfulness, is also very closely related to that. So to disconnect, to slow down, and to be more present. I also, through my work and through a lot of reading and just exploring, have a theory that human beings are at their happiest when they're interacting with each other. And then also that technology has changed the way that we interact with each other, especially in recent days with with social media and with different technologies we have, and how technology is shaping cultural norms too. So just because it is the way it is now doesn't mean that it always has been that way. Why do I believe this concept of slow living and exploring these ideas is so important? So it's been proven that slow living helps reduce stress, increase fulfillment and happiness, and it can even reduce spending and financial concerns, which I'm not really going to go into today, but I'm happy to discuss separately if that's something of interest and kind of what that means. So I'm kind of I'm putting together this working theory that the solution to modern day overwhelm and feelings of unfulfillment is, one, a conscious shift towards understanding your priorities. Two, making time consciously for those priorities in your schedule, even in the face of cultural norms, meaning even if society is saying you should do something, you should do A, I'd want to push you that if B feels right, that you would make time for B. And then finally, understanding the role that technology plays in keeping us from the things that we want sort of accidentally. So I'm not trying to say that all technology is bad, but there are ways in which we might be using technology that is detrimental to a way of life that we would prefer to be living. So I wanted to start with a couple of stories I thought of Allison when I decided to put these in. So, and you'll see this Little Women theme pretty regularly. So as a kid, I did read the book, but actually the 90s movie was really my inspiration for what I'm talking about. But so watching the movie, reading the book, first of all, I've always been really inspired by people and cultures throughout history and how people interact with each other, and just the fact that people are still people and very little has changed except for the technologies that we use. But so this book is really inspiring to me because it's all about the relationships that these women have with each other and the relationships they have with their neighbors and their friends, and also how they navigate life together. So really just sort of navigating the ups and downs of the things that come their way. I'm also really interested in what they did in their free time. So that's things like they wrote and put on plays for their friends and neighbors. They created this literary society and they wrote newspapers, and it just seems like a lot of fun. So that's one of my inspirations just for this whole thought about slow living. The second, and these three are books, so if you're inspired to read any of them, I would love to recommend them to you. So the second is a book called Daily Rituals. It's about a bunch of different artists and famous people throughout history. And each page is a really little vignette about each of these people, but it focuses on their routines and habits, their daily life and structure. So as you know, I'm a productivity and efficiency coach, and this is just like sort of right down my alley. But I love so many of them lived pre, say, computers, pre-TV. So again, just seeing how their lives were without these technologies, but also seeing how dedicated they were to their schedules and how adamant they were about their priorities and made sure to make time for those in their day. So somebody had a 2-hour walking routine at lunch. They did their 2-hour walking routine no matter what, rain, snow, sleet, requests to go out to lunch. And they would say, nope, I walk from noon to 2. If you want to hang out, let's hang out at after 2. So I'm really inspired by the way that these folks pick their priorities and then stick to them. And then in the third book, which is called The No Impact Man, I'm very inspired by exploring sustainable living. And as I'm reflecting on, my life and my inspirations, this is even just like a recycling circle as you see it. Like there's so many connections between all of these different elements that I'm seeing how they fit together and why I'm so interested in these things. So I actually wanted to just read a short. So his story is a little bit disjointed because it's an experiment, but these two pieces go together even though they're in different chapters. So I thought I would just read it to show you kind of what I'm getting from it. Mm-hmm. So he says, waking up to the fact that the TV was making me feel bad about my life and making the project harder was like discovering that the enemy was encamped in my living room, which clinched it. By Michelle's decree, we would be a no TV family from here on in. 4 weeks after the program began, we weren't just changing the way we lived. Changing the way we lived was changing us. And then ultimately they got rid of the TV. And then here is a later vignette that points back to a result of what happened when they did get rid of that TV. So they say, a new family routine emerges. While I cook, Michelle sits at the table and chats with me. Isabella stands on a chair in the kitchen, she's 2, and pretends to help. We can't resist, even after only a few days of local eating, contrasting this with the old life of shoveling in greasy takeout while we sat in front of the television. Now we're talking. Instead of the TV being the center of our life, the kitchen table is. We spend more time talking to Isabella than we used to, the daughter. The soup is ready. I put it down on the table. It's delicious, Michelle says. You don't have to say that. No, I mean it. I want us to eat this way for the rest of our lives. What were we thinking all this time? So this really, really resonated with me because before they would rush home, they would rush to order takeout, and then they would rush to sit in front of the television. And so what he's saying is by removing that bit, they sort of, they went home on a leisurely pace. They bought fresh produce. They cooked the produce together. Then they ate together. Then they chatted together. And so that's kind of what I'm pointing at in that life and happiness and fulfillment is in the mindfulness of everyday living in the moments rather than in some kind of destination such as rushing to go and watch the newest TV show. So ways to get started with slow living. And as you can see in the images, it means a lot of different things. So just again, to reiterate that life is in the moments and in mindfulness and in observing what you're doing slowly. So really what I'm trying to get through this short presentation are these 3 key thoughts and questions. And you may have already seen some of the journal prompts that Marcy put up in LinkedIn. So first, understanding what our priorities are, and then figuring out what shoulds might be getting in the way. By should, I mean society says I should, or the work culture says I should, or my friends say I should. And there's so many shoulds coming from so many different directions. But so identifying where those shoulds are not in line with your priorities, making a shift. And then also finally, understanding where technology, again, not all technology is bad, but there are certain times in which technology may be inadvertently taking our time. So for me, it has been scrolling constantly, incessantly on Instagram. It has been constantly checking email or some TV watching. And when I make a conscious choice to do those, to stop doing those types of things that are unfulfilling and replacing them with things that are within my category of priorities, I really see a shift in my happiness and in my joy. So, whoops. Why now? Why did I want to do this presentation right now? Again, bringing in the Little Women theme. So again, it's just like something about that movie, that book. The new one's great if you haven't seen it. Is just really like, to me, the epitome of family. And although they go through many challenges in life, that they're navigating those challenges together. So humans used to spend a lot more time resting, especially during this time of year. And they used to, spend a lot of time interacting face to face. This time of year, October, Halloween through New Year's, maybe not this year, maybe not last year, but in general, in our sort of lifetimes, is, in my opinion, full of lots of obligations and way too many shoulds on your plate. Like, oh, I should do this thing, or I should make that thing, or I should go to this place. So just want to kind of, before that might creep into your schedule, take a step back and take a look. So basically right now, right before Halloween, I think is the best time to start thinking about, what do I want this season to look like? Envision it, and then actively create that and do what we can to shift around our schedule and shift around our habits to make that vision happen. So I know that today is about joy, which is why, I'm talking about this vision as it relates to joy, but we have to vision and change our mindset all the time too, even between those weeks where we talk about them proactively. So for me, I want the holidays to be about a time of resting, time with family, time crafting, which I don't make enough time for. So I'm trying to build that in, and a time of giving and making new and celebrating old traditions. So that's what I kind of want it to look like for me. So now I'm going to pass the baton, and I'd love to allow you to take a couple of minutes and journal, either in the digital document that Marcy sent out or on paper. And there's 3 questions, and we'll do one at a time. So I'll give everyone 2 minutes each for each question, and then we'll kind of move on to the next. And then after we do the questions, we'll break out and we can discuss if you want to answer any of the questions to the group, or if you want to share any thoughts that you had or any tangents that come up. So that's sort of the direction that we're going to go in next. And Marcy's 2 minutes sound good for everyone?
Great.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and start.
And Lana, this is really good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Just had to throw that in there. It's awesome.
So journal prompt 1, if you're ready to get journaling, is, which priorities in my life do I want to make more time and space for? And I'm keeping it as open-ended as possible so that it really is what you would consider your priorities and things you want to make time for. So go ahead and start 2 minutes on that one. So I'm going to move on to question 2. And if you feel inspired to go back, no problem. So question 2 is, what are some things currently in my schedule in the should category that aren't in line with the priorities that you've just written? What are some ways in which I can reduce those shoulds or replace them with things that are more in line with my priorities? And you can think events, meetings, activities, obligations, anything that for you might fall under this, well, I should XYZ category. So we'll do another 2 minutes on that question.
She's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift, and hope that you'll take it into her side. La 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 la.
And the final question for today, what are some ways I could assess my current relationship with technology? Assess or question or explore. Where would I like to consider taking back some time from the screen? What are some ways I could discuss with my partner or my family to do some of these things together? What might that look like? So we'll do another 2 minutes.
She's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift, and hope that you'll take it into her side. La 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 la.
So again, I would encourage you, if these are questions that you have more interest in exploring, that you continue to explore them. And I am so excited about these topics. So I'm happy to talk to anyone additionally after after today or whenever. And just one final slide that I wanted to share, which is a number of books that I actually haven't, some of them I have and some of them I haven't read yet. But if you're interested in learning a little more about slow living, these are so Seeking Slow, In Praise of Slowness, a little book of, I never say this word right, Hoogie, something like that, and Simply Living Well. Those are books that I haven't read and would like to continue looking into. And then the other three, Wabi Sabi, Daily Rituals, No Impact Man, Little Women, not all actually about slow living, but to me embody a lot of the concepts.